Hello and welcome back to the Sassy Beans podcast. I'm your host, Tans. Today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Comfort and she'll be talking about identity. Welcome, Comfort.
Thank you very much.
So you've told me that you work as a volunteer, youth worker with Young Hackney.
Okay.
And the thing you want to bring today, the subject, the thing that's important to you today is to do with identity. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Identity is actually the person that we are, the person that I see myself as. So if I know who I am, I believe that will affect how I see myself, think about myself. It will not even bother me what other people think of me or how they perceive me once I am sure of who I am. And I will say it is a general problem for most of us. It's a problem that most of us have, which I think we don't actually realize. And I think that is the way we go about doing things that other people do. Because we don't know who we are, what the system fits to us generally worldwide is a system of you go to school, you go to university, you end up working. Sometimes we end up even doing the job that we are not here to do because we want to make money. We want to live this life. We want to be like this and be like that. But knowing who you are, when you know who you are, it actually simplifies your life because you then focus on what you are meant to do with your life. You will not be thinking, oh, I want to be a doctor because my mom is a doctor, my dad is a doctor, or an engineer, or my friend is an accountant, or I'm going to uni to study whatever my friend is studying. And then you come back from uni, you are not even making use of whatever you have immense debt for. So most of our children, they go to uni and they come back and they are doing what they did not even study in university. They are doing whatever job that comes along. It's all because we don't know who we are. So identity is a question that we all need to ask ourselves. Who really am I? What am I here for? What is my purpose in life? What assignment? What am I here to give to you? What is my value? What value did I come to the world with? We might need to work on it to develop it, but if we can take steps to find out, okay, where really is my path? What am I here to do? I think that will help many, many, many of us. So we will not struggle through life. Many people end up struggling through life, doing what they don't really like. If you look at some people, when you meet some people at their job, the way they talk, behave, treat you, will tell you whether they really love what they are doing. If they are working in a place that they are just there for the money, the way they will treat you is different from somebody that have passion for it, that love the job. You can go to the hospital, the way a nurse will treat you, you will know, is that person there for the money or because they love it and they enjoy it? If you wake up your child in the morning, it's a general problem for many of us anyway. When we are young, not many people really want to go to school. We go to school because our parents want us to go to school. So when you go to school, as you are coming of age, you should be asking yourself, okay, why am I really going to school? It's not all of us that are made up for that line. But as parents, we want our children to become this and become that, which is good. But at the same time, we need to find out, is that the line for that child? Because some of them can go to university, they come out, And it's a different line where they will really flourish, because that is what they enjoy doing. We can only flourish and blossom in what we love, what we enjoy. If you don't enjoy something, you don't love it, it doesn't motivate you, you're waking up in the morning, you are dragging yourself up the bed, it's not something you love. So it will not even fulfill you. And when we are not fulfilled, that joy will not be there for us. And if you don't have it, how can you give it to somebody else? Because you can't give what you don't have. And that's why you see some people at their job, they look so miserable. So miserable. And it's like, if you don't want to be here, why are you here?
True.
But just for the money? But we are not here all for that. We need to find out what really gives me joy, what motivates me, what fulfills me. And with that, I can pass on that joy, fulfillment, everything to somebody else. I can serve you well. I can serve you well if I am enjoying what I am doing. If I am loving it, I will serve you well. But if I'm just doing it because there's nothing else I can do. So the service I will give to you will be the service of, it's just for the money. Just let me just serve you and go.
Yeah. And there's so much truth in what you've said. You've talked about how that having that passion and that joy, that internal secureness, you can then, that portrays on the outside.
Yes.
So when you come into contact with someone, that's clearly communicated. You know, if you're happy, if you're feeling joyful, if you're feeling fulfilled, then the way you turn up to work or to whatever, what you give into that will show.
It will show
about, you know, how you feel about yourself and that particular role. And so I'm wondering, you know, you also talked about the idea of, you know, peer pressure in that sense. You follow through on somebody else's dream and somebody else's path. And then you go through, you get the qualification, but then you come back. And it is a huge problem with a lot of people who go to university, or a lot of young people.
Yes.
They go through the process because there is certain expectation that that's the path in which you've taken or should take. But you've also said it doesn't suit everybody.
Not everybody.
So being able to identify what is important to you, what do you value, can then help you to better choose a course or a path that more aligns with your goals and what your values, how you see yourself.
That is it. That is it.
So I'm wondering, how does one get to that defining moment? How do you refine who you are, your identity?
It is difficult, it's not easy, but it's something that, as an individual, when you observe yourself and you can see that I'm doing all these things, but I'm really not happy doing what I'm doing. This thing is not fulfilling me. Then you can take the step of, when I was young, and I don't know if they still use it now. When I was young, all I hear about was passion. Yeah, what is your passion? What is your passion? But then,
what does that mean to you? I wonder.
What does it? That is it. So I'm like, passion. Why you say passion? I'm not somebody that is passionate about baking, knitting, sewing, football, and the rest of it. So I'm like, what are you talking about? One thing that has stuck with me and up to now is reading. I love reading. And I'm like, when you're talking about passion, the only thing I know is reading. So what do I do with reading? But if parents can pay attention to their children, even from a young age, when they are playing, all these things, you know, they talk about our dream. That as a child, what is your dream? All these things are part of the way we exhibit our dream, our passion, what you love, what you enjoy. Because until you really discover that thing that gives you that joy and fulfillment, life is a struggle. And it will remain a struggle
Of course. Yeah.
It will remain a struggle. I know a father. I don't know the girl, but the father said he can see that the girl wasn't cut out for university, but she went anyway. But when she now came back from university, she had to go and do other things. And it is from what she did after university that she's now enjoying and she's making so much money. What she learned in the 3 years, the loan and whatever, not a single day did she use it. But the father supported her, paid for her training. She said she wants to do this, she wants to do that. She went for the training, she loved it, she's enjoying it, she's training other people to do the same thing.
Wow.
But she went to uni because her friends were going. And it's this thing with many of our children. They go to uni, my friend is going. So they also go. Then when they come back, then it will now sink. Okay. I don't really like what I say there. This, I don't enjoy it, I don't this, I don't that. But the debt is already there for them. And then they come back. Now they have to go and do something else, or some end up just in a job that they don't like. And that they can be in it for life. And that is a life of struggle.
And I hear that. And as a young person, there is nothing wrong with following friends. There is that's part of being young sometimes. You're heavily influenced by your friends. So how does someone then, how do you change that? How do you make a decision based on what you want? At that age, do you really know what you want? Can you really know what you want?
It is very difficult. Even as an adult, it is still difficult. Unless one takes intentional step.
Tell me a bit more about that.
Okay, intentional step is you discovering that, you know what, all these things I'm doing, I'm not really happy about them. They are not fulfilling me. They are not giving me the joy that I want. So what really is that thing, that core in me that I love doing, I enjoy doing? They don't have to be big. They don't have to be big. It might be something small. And if you start from that small thing and you keep working on it, it can become big. Because sometimes I think what we do is we are looking at something big out there. No, we just have to look. As I said, my passion is, what I love doing is reading. So it was later when I spoke to somebody, she said, oh, there are things you can do with reading. Writing book, teaching. Of course, I taught for some time in Nigeria. But there are things. If one is connected to people that can support, they can help, they can guide you, because it's inside you. You are the one that knows what you love. But if you can say, okay, this is what I love doing, this is what really gives me joy. Then if you have people around you who can support you, they can say, okay, maybe try this. At first you may not get it, but they can say, okay, try this. It can be a case of you try this and try that. Then you will like, oh, okay, this is it. That aha moment, as they call it, that is a light bulb moment. This is what I have been looking for.
Yes.
But it's not easy. It is not easy. If anybody says it's easy, no. It is not an easy journey. But if you get to the stage that you know what, no, I can't continue like this. I cannot continue the way I am. I don't want to keep struggling because I'm really not enjoying this thing. Because if we are doing something that we don't love, internally we are killing ourselves as well. Internally we are killing ourselves because you are struggling. It's draining you. Instead of, if you do something you love, it gives you energy.
Yes.
But if you are doing something you don't love, it drains energy from you.
Absolutely. I agree.
So you are gradually dying. But if you do something you love, you'll be blossoming, you'll be flourishing, people will see you, they'll be like, what's going on? Because you love what you are doing, because you enjoy it.
Yes. Yeah.
So that light will be there all the time. You'll be shining and shining because you are doing what you love.
And just hearing you say that has brought that sort of joy in. One thing you've said that sounds really key to me is guidance. Guidance is very, very important. So, as a young person, you're making sense of the world around you. You're learning as you go. And somewhere along your life, more when you become more mature is when things start to click in. So having that guidance, as you did with your friend, to say, well, actually, here's what you've got, but here's all the opportunities and possibilities with this small thing.
That's it.
Or that thing that you feel is small. One of the things I do worry about is we're in this day and age where, unfortunately, people want things now. So what you've just talked about is the process of things, which is starting with the small thing and then building with guidance down the right path. However, there are so many different paths and distractions these days. How do you, in this day and age, say to a young person, how do they drown out all the other noise and distraction to focus on their sole intention or purpose?
That's a big question. Because the age we are in, I call them microwave.
You call them microwave?
I call them microwave children.
Oh, tell me a bit more about that.
Microwave. You want something, you want it so quick. So, their attention span is very, very short. Like where I volunteer, you will see them, they will start something, and they move on to something else, and they move on to something else, and they move on to something else. So the attention span is very, very small. So what I can say is, as parents, as adults that are around them, you can see some potentials in your child. You'll be able to see some potential. So if you can see that, okay, this child is difficult, but it's something we have to do. We have to stand our ground to say, listen, this is what I can see in you, but this is the way I see you going. If you go this way, this is the consequence of that. But if you go this other way, this is what you can end up becoming or having. So from a young age, we just have to try our best, especially in this society that we are. It's very, very hard. I know it's very, very hard in this society that we are, because the system doesn't give parents that freedom to really parent their children. And if you don't guide a child, your child doesn't know anything. You as a parent, you have experience.
Yes.
The child has not been there. So if you are there as a parent and you are not able to guide your child, then the result, the outcome will really not be good for that child. But I think we need to start even from when they are little. From when they are little, you let that boundary be there so that your child can listen to you. Play your part. Do what you have to do as a parent. Of course, I know when they go out there, it's different. But as we continue to do what we do, we continue to lay that foundation for them. They can go out and hear something else. But what you have planted will also still be there for them. And if from when they are young, you already let them know, this is the path, follow this path. Even if they go out there and the distraction is there, they will still remember, this is what mommy told me. And they will also be able to discern that, no, that is not the path that I want. This path is taking me out of what I want. Of course, it's not going to be easy because peer pressure and the rest of it, they want to belong. That is where the problem is. They want to belong because they want to be with their friends. They want to do what their friends are doing. But there are still very few, who still stand their ground. No, I'm not going with you.
Yeah.
So as a parent, we have a lot of work to do. That is what I will say. Because the child or the children, they cannot lead themselves to that right path. But as a parent, we can guide them.
Yeah.
We can guide them. So when we guide them, say, this is the path. Because at the end of the day, it will give you the life that you really want to live. The life that you are looking forward to living, it will give you that life. You will have that life later. But if you follow this other path, there are many examples out there that you can point to that. This person, I'm not writing anybody off, but if the people that go that path, this is the result of going towards that path. And if you go the other path, this is the result of it as well.
So it sounds like really giving that information. This is what happens here, the examples. This is one path you can take. Here's another path. But ultimately, there's a choice to make.
There's a choice to make.
And you can then encourage and help them to make the better choice.
That is it.
So I hear you, and I completely agree when it comes to how much work as parents we need to be involved in our children's life. But also there's an element of us as parents. We need to do the work on ourselves in order for us to then be able to pour lovingly into our children. And, there are many examples of struggles. I've had my own struggles when it comes to identity and parenting. And you talked a little bit about the system and what the system allows or disallows. And ultimately, it comes back to the idea of identity. Who are you? Spending time to do that work, feeling secure in yourself. Then there are conversations you can have with your children, but there are also things that children pick up just from seeing you do or behave or be a particular person or a particular way.
A lot of that. Most of the things that children pick up is not so much of what we say. It is not so much of what we say. It is so much of what we do. They're watching, but they're saying nothing. They are saying nothing, but they are watching and they are listening. So you might tell them something, and that is why as parents, one has to be careful, because you can't tell your child, don't do this, don't walk in that path, but you are walking in that path and you are doing it. So that is contradictory.
Absolutely.
You are confusing them. Then you cannot correct them. You can't say don't go there because you are going there. Even if they don't have the confidence to tell you, at a certain stage they'll be able to tell you, Mommy, no, you can't tell me that because you do it.
Yes.
I was crossing the road maybe last month. I got off the bus and I got off with this woman and 2 children. And I crossed in the middle of the road. It's just me. She was with 2 children and the boy was moving so close even though a car was coming. So the mom asked, why did you do that? And he said, but you do it, Mommy. So we have to watch. So if you say, don't do this, then it means you have to be very, very careful what you tell them don't do. Don't do it yourself.
Absolutely.
So
it's leading by example.
It is leading by example. They are modeling after us.
Yes.
And that is what they do with their friends as well. And with this social media, that is what they do. Because they are looking for a model, somebody they can look. They are looking up to them. But what they portray on social media is not really the real thing. And that is where the problem is. Because they think, oh, that is how it should be. But no, it is what they want them to see that they are portraying out there for them. So it's we, the parents, that need to let them know what to see there. It's not as wonderful, as beautiful as you think. What they are portraying is not what it is really going on. What they wear is not something that some of people buy with their money. It's something that maybe they've given to them to model for them. So and you are now thinking, oh, that looks beautiful on that person. Have you worked for it? For you to want to wear that?
On the understanding of how the process works. There is that goal, and there's nothing wrong with having that as a goal, but almost I feel that social media doesn't look at the stages to get to that particular stage. What happens? How do you get there? What sort of things might you need to do? What kind of mindset might you need to have? All these things are really important. And yes, our young people are looking at these as an image, as an example, but without all the information.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah.
And I just wonder, again, coming back to identity, because ultimately we are in this kind of society at the moment where young people are wanting to belong, as you said, or anybody who wants to belong, particularly young people, because they're at this really delicate stage of their life where they're trying to form their identity. Who am I? And so that will heavily be influenced by peers or their environment. So how could you encourage a young person within this society, coming from your line of work? How would you speak to a young person about their identity and becoming more informed about who they truly are?
We can talk about how they spend their time and what they spend their time doing. Because what you spend your time doing will have to do with if you are looking in the right direction. And if that is the area that will help you. So, who are you watching? Who are you modeling after? Even from primary school, who is your model? Is it your mom? Is it your dad? Is it your auntie? Is it your sister? Or is it somebody on social media? So, that is where it will start from. How do you spend your time? What do you spend your time doing? Who do you listen to? Because who you listen to, everything also has to do with our mind. The mindset, how you think. What do you think about? The two gates to our minds, our ear and our eyes. So what do you hear? What do you watch? So because those are the things that is feeding our mind. So for you to know who you are, those things you need to pay attention to them. Who you listen to, what you listen to. If you keep watching the TV, spending your time on social media, is that those people you're watching, is that the life that you want for yourself? And what will those life give you as a person when you become an adult? So what do you feed your eyes as well? So what do you feed your eyes and what do you listen to? What do you read? If you read, what do you read? What are the things that you spend your time reading? We're in the age of technology. Instead of spending your time on social media, watching all these things, there are many informations that you can get, depending on what you are looking for. So, for a young person, what is important to you? They may not be able to answer that, but where do you spend your time? What do you spend your time doing? What do you listen to? What do you watch?
And I agree. I mean, when we're talking about young people, we're talking about maybe the majority. That's not every single young person, but I do agree. What you hear and what you see are two things that happen on a regular basis, whether that's conscious or unconscious, because of the world that we live in. So being mindful of those things and taking conscious action to choose the things that you want to listen to or you want to see, that feeds into who you want to become.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to ask this question. So again, in terms of identity, if I were to say to you, who are you, Comfort? What would be your response, I wonder?
My response, it took me, as I said, it took me when I was young because all I was hearing was about passion. So it took me years. And I would say that I'm still searching. But I know that it is a very important thing from a young age to know who you are, even though it's difficult. But with guidance, it is something that is possible. When I was in full-time employment, that was where the question started coming for me. So I watched people that when they're approaching retirement, they are like, no, I don't want to go because if I leave, I will die. Because this is all I have done all my years, all my life. And it's not because they love the job. They don't love the job. But it is what they've spent the whole of their life doing. Some of them started doing it since teenager until that retirement. They don't know anything else.
Yeah.
They have no other skill. So that got me thinking that, comfort, is this what you really want? Because I don't even want to work until retirement age. This 60, 65, no. I don't want to spend all my life working for somebody else. Because I know it's not something that really fulfills me. So that's when I started like, okay, I need to, what really gives me joy?
Was that the first question that came up for you?
Yes, it was like, no, I don't like what I'm saying here. What do I need to do something else with my life? So what do I need to do with my life? Then I started taking steps, educating myself, reading, listening. So I listened to quite a few teaching by Dr. Miles Monroe. He spent all his life on purpose, finding your purpose. So then I'm like, okay, at this age now, I don't know if if I can still go that way. But that passion right now, what is there for me is, even if I cannot say this is what, I just want at the moment, what I want is young people, work on yourself, discover who you are, do what gives you joy, do what fulfills you, do what you love. Very important. So right now, what I am doing, when I go to my volunteer, I motivate the children. I'm not talking to them about that yet because I'm looking at the environment and I'm looking at the system and I'm like, I don't know. But I do support as well. So when the young ones that I support, the ones that have the mental state to take in what I know, I guide them in that way that your challenge does not necessarily have to define you, because I can see that you have some potential in you. So let's work on that potential that you have, because with what you have, with the dream, what you are thinking of, you want to have this, you want to have that. If you do certain things, live certain way, you can have those dreams. But if you allow what is around you and the system, this is the way you will go.
So again, making that choice. And having that encouragement, which is you.
Yes.
To make that choice.
Yes.
So that's great. And they're really lucky to have you. So what I'm hearing you say is you went from having full-time employment to then almost rediscovering that this isn't it for you. This wasn't, after how many years, what gave you joy. And that can change, because it can ultimately start by giving you joy, but also you can outgrow that and become comfortable, which is what you've sort of said for other people. And in that comfortability, when that option is then removed, there comes the fear of what happens next. But when you can ultimately walk into the next phase, first of all, recognizing that this no longer serves you well, then deciding, taking action, which is what you did. And what you've then now said, well, actually, I've noticed that this wasn't given to me when I was their age. So therefore, how can I bless someone else with the opportunity to have those important conversations about what do you want for your life? Where do you see yourself, whether that's a year from now, 5 years, 10 years, and how can you start to take appropriate action by making those initial choices but also giving them that information that is needed, because no one can make a ultimate choice about their life if they haven't, without all the right information. So your job is helping others, helping these young people to start to look about how can they live a life of purpose and fulfillment.
That's right. Yes.
And that's absolutely wonderful. And you know, we need more people. I know that there's lots of people working with the youth out there, but it's always it's good to have these conversations with people who are like yourself, doing these things and starting to help young people who are coming up to start to make better choices. Because when they make better choices, we have a better society.
That's it.
So one thing I just want to kind of ask before we finish is, my other role in terms of my beauty business, Sugar and Sass, really looks at the internal beauty. So redefining what beauty means. And I know when we had a conversation previously, you talked about the idea of identity as part of that. When you feel more secure in who you are, that internal then validates the external. So I wonder, if I were to ask you, what defines beauty? What does beauty mean to you?
I am a person of faith. So my beauty comes from how my Creator created me.
Yes.
The Bible said that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So if the person that created me said I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, then I don't need to look at anything else because I am already made. I don't need to make myself further. Of course, that doesn't mean that I can't use little things, but they are not really, I'm not depending on them to beautify me. My beauty comes from inside. And once I know and believe that I am beautiful from inside, my confidence is there. I'm not looking at anything outside to give me confidence or self-esteem. So that is the way I see my beauty. I radiate the beauty of God.
Yes.
Not external beauty, not beauty because of anything else. No.
That's wonderful. So for you, beauty is knowing ultimately that you have been divinely created as a finished product. So therefore, anything that comes, you know, whether that from man or whatever it is, whether that be makeup, enhancement, is not necessarily going to change that state of beauty or definition of who you already are.
That is it, yeah.
Okay, so so powerful, so powerful, because I know that beauty is one of those things that means a lot of different things to different people. And so for us here at Sugar and Sass, for myself, it's really about trying to get people to understand that it starts with you. Everything starts with you. You are the foundation. What you think, what you believe, then becomes what you are. So therefore, if you can affirm that who you truly are in the state in which you truly are in, then it's less likely that you'll be so far removed from that, from the influence of everybody else around.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what we're trying to work on Sugar and Sass, redefining beauty. And I want to thank you so much for giving up your time, coming here and telling us about the wonderful work that you're doing. It was such a pleasure to have you here. And, you know, I will always welcome you back to find out what kind of happens past, you know, this phase, because time changes, things change. So it'd be great to have you back at some point.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for all our listeners. You've been listening to Tans at the Sassy Beans podcast. I look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Until then, take care and remember, your health and well-being matters.